Let's go. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to lie. I haven't felt this way about a game that I've attended since the '07 year. And this season is actually starting to play out like '07. But we'll talk more about that later. Obviously, the film study today, we're going to break down as many plays as we possibly can. And we're going to start off, of course, with, to me, the defensive MVP of this game was this man right here, but you can call him that for every game. Obviously, basketball had another good game, but really the most improved player was Jarek Bernard Converse. Okay, I know Bryce Young is an improviser. This is just nonsensical to try and sidearm a ball through a window right here. I mean, the ball's behind him. You're taking a massive hit right there, and you get a pick. So just great ball skills right here by Converse to finish off this play versus former LSU commit JoJo Earl. Boom, I'm looking at you. Yes, an early boom. Hope you guys, with your heart's desire, decide to drop a Venmo Cash App. Sometimes these film studies, well, they pretty much always do now, get demonetized. But I highly recommend you check out our PHL Patreon because, well, I will show you a few slides here. This was the play that you're looking at right now that I thought LSU should run a lot of, all the way down to the very game-winning play, as many of you know. That has just always been an Achilles heel of a Nick Saban defense. It's just simple stuff, a tight end or just a slip from a player running behind the line of scrimmage. Tennessee scored one with Jalen Hyatt. Cincinnati, quite honestly, had a lot of success doing that the year before. And then we get to this next play. Honestly, I mean, this is just very simple stuff right here. Just a great call right here by Mike on the 2nd and 15. It was good. On the 2nd and 15, you have to know that they're going to blitz because they want to get you out of field goal range, right? And always remember this, no matter where you're watching this. When you get to around like this 30-yard line mark, they want to obviously blitz you because they want to get you out of field goal range and force you to punt. So this is just really good stuff by Mike, okay? And we're actually going to show you the play before this as well. You get this slip right here, okay? I say slip, but this is honestly just a running back going out on a route. Normally linebackers account for the running back, but here it is a zero blitz. It is man-to-man. You have this man. These two have these two men, man-to-man. This guy, I don't remember his name. I don't know anything about him. And then the deep safety is actually the one that's accounting for John Emery, okay? Kind of like the Auburn play. We just need John Emery to make Helms miss. This is obviously a really difficult tackle for Helms to make, but John Emery doing this high step, do whatever you can to make this guy miss. Kind of shocked that they did not review to see if he stepped out of bounds right here, okay? So there you go right there. He is able to make a miss to the inside, and we are able to score our first tutty. Let's get zo, baby. Bam, I'm looking at you. Yes, you. So this was actually the play before, and as you can see, we were able to get some hands on some all-22. Well, the reason why we got all 22 is that this is where I was sitting. I couldn't believe that I had these seats. And the funny thing about it is I was actually sitting in the wrong section. So what happened here, this was actually the play before. See Will Anderson, he's lined up in what's called a 4-eye technique. He's to the inside shoulder of Will Campbell. I think Will thought the left guard was going to help him right here on this interior technique. If even then we leaned right here and Will Anderson swam, move over the top. This was his only sack and tackle for loss in the entire game, and that was in a 4-eye. So Will was just excellent all game long, and you see the sack happens. The funny thing about the sack happening, though, is this actually did open up, all right? So what we're doing is we're running, like a scissors, if you will, right? It's kind of like what Tennessee does, right? They try and cross you up with these, deep vertical routes. And as you'll see here, this was open, okay? It would have taken a really good throw, okay? You can back shoulder it, if you may, in the air to where Kayshawn's adjusting and back shouldering it. Or honestly, you could just throw it like just like this, and that's where it should have been, honestly. And it would have worked. And even if, Jayden had even a half second, this also opened up to BTJ as well. So it really shows you how important that next play to John Emery actually was. All right, we get a little lucky here on this 3rd and 11 that this was not Jahmyr Gibbs, because if this was Jahmyr Gibbs, we are not catching him. Jahmyr Gibbs is, they mentioned it on the broadcast, their fastest player. And this is all Alabama was doing all day. Their receivers couldn't get open, so their number one route was an angle route. It's actually a route that's run a lot in video games, right? It's basically the running back goes here and goes here. So he's actually just forming an angle. Okay, and this time, the person that is guarding the angle route here is Major Burns. And Brian Kelly brought this play up in the post-game press conference. He was asked about it, but Bryce Young hit him in stride. We did get a little lucky that the umpire was right there. That did slow him down just a little bit, but I am not sure if Major Burns is able to catch Jahmyr Gibbs, but this is just really, really good hustle right here by Major. And honestly, we made some good adjustments on this angle route, and our guys just really locked down the Alabama wide receivers. So give them credit. That was a good play call right there, and give Major Burns credit for not giving up on this play. This is just an excellent job by Jaquelin Roy. He's the one that actually makes this play happen. He's going up against a triple team here. Now, obviously, this guard is trying to pick up on what Perkins is going to do. But, God, this is just excellent stuff to not give up and then release right here. And that forced Bryce Young to flatten out a little bit. So give Roy some credit. But, honestly, look at this little tap dance routine right here. You just can't shake Perk. And, honestly, it worked. If you take a look at this, Perk lost his balance right here. That did juke him out a little bit, but just look at the ability to maintain himself, recompose himself, and actually bring Bryce Young down right there. Just an amazing play. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you. Right now, I got a little sleep. Wanted to cut a few extra plays to put in the film study that I mostly edited at 4 in the morning last night. And this is another all-22 shot. Once again, shout out to my buddy and Prez at PHL, Chuck, for shooting this. He sat with me the entire game. It was a lot of fun. And I want you to see just how good Jaquelin Roy and Mekhi Wingo were all night. We were blowing their center back into Bryce Young all day. Look at this collapsed pocket. And my favorite thing about this rush is a really good job right here by looks like DeMario Tolan, who's starting to play a lot for LSU. The good thing about bull rushing is you're staying in front of your guy and you're able to react. And look, Bryce can't scramble out of that. There's no escaping that. And he can't step into this throw right here. And look at how open Prentice was, right? Weeks got drawn by Jahmyr Gibbs. This is what a good player does. He forces you to make mistakes. I believe West Week should have sat in this zone right here. This dig was wide open for a big gainer. And look at that. I mean, the ball wasn't even close. Okay, and I want you to see this. I don't know if I've ever seen an LSU DT with this much IQ right here and this much energy. Man, Mekhi Wingo is so freaking good at football. Let's go. So here's essentially the same thing, angle route, right? This time they're actually doing it with Jahmyr Gibbs. He actually dropped this play for a potential game winner versus Tennessee. Look at how far Greg Brooks has to run over here to make this play. It's good and quick as well, okay? That's just nearly impossible for Greg Brooks to run over all the way over there. This time, though, we did have some other players waiting for this tackle, so it didn't go for a huge gain. But they do pick up the 3rd and 6. Great tackle, actually, there by Jay Ward. Alrighty, so let's talk about the controversial call. Okay, this is very, very, very exotic, okay? We're actually bringing this player, all right? And they actually pick it up really well. I do like that, though. Something else here is I love Mekhi Wingo's football IQ. So he sees that Harold Perkins takes the inside lane, all right? And once he sees that, he gets flat to become the new contained defender. I don't know if that's by design. Also, something else I liked was they did a really good job scouting Alabama, right? And, Wingo did a good job, keeping contained. He actually deflected, quote-unquote, deflected this pass right here, which is really impressive. He has great ball skills, great football IQ. And obviously, this is a controversial call. I don't think it was a bad call. It's just a bad freaking rule, okay? Good job by Sage. It's really good ball skills right here. To just stick with it and then eventually rip this thing out, okay? And because he was out of bounds when he touched this ball, it's a dead ball, which is just BS, quite honestly. Coach Steeples, Coach Cooks. There's 7 Banks. Look at Garrett Nussmeier. I love that. It's Jamar Kane. It's very interesting, right? Matt House is in the booth, and his other 3 defensive coaches are all on the field. It's very interesting. So 3rd and 10 here, okay? Obviously, Perk is the spy. We decide to rush 3, and I just did not like this at all in this spot. I understand we want to hold them to a field goal in this spot. I do think here this is a little too easy. Because we want to make this a difficult field goal. I just don't agree with rushing 3, dropping 8, but because you have a QB spy, you're essentially dropping 7 and you're only rushing 3. I don't like it when Bryce Young's allowed to sit back there and just make a lot of things happen. But, I'm not playing some of the clips here. I do have some defensive all-22, but I should probably show some defensive all-22 clips just to let you know how unopen a lot of the Alabama wide receivers were. So once again, I'm fine with holding them to a field goal here. The only issue, if I were Brian Kelly, is I understand you are getting the ball first to start the next half. I would have called my timeout here, right, to preserve some time for you to get the football back, to drive the football down the field. But I'm perfectly fine, just allowing them to score. We get the football to start next half. So, you kind of cost yourself a possession. But as you guys saw with the live stream last night, I was perfectly fine with pretty much every other end of half, end of game situation BK managed. And it's pretty good stuff. Here we are again. It's 3rd and 6. And this time Matt House says, look, I'm not just going to let you sit back in zone and just pick us apart. So this time we decide to just man coverage everybody. Okay? And what's very interesting is we decide to bracket this angle route. All right? So Perk sits back, and he's sitting right here. Really good halftime adjustment to, at the same time with your QB spy, stop the angle route. You still hold your responsibility. Once again, Jaquelin Roy played a wonderful game. Okay? Look at this. Look at this. Bullying the center all the way back. All right? The best pressure always is right up the middle. And he gets his hands right in the passing lane. I don't know if he got a piece of it. And this was actually just a bad throw. Okay, if you throw that a little bit lower, you give your guy a chance, but still just great coverage. So you notice how long it's been since we actually broke down an offensive play? Well, that's because that's how the actual game went. At the end of they had a long drive at the end of the second half, and then we kind of 3-and-outed in a way before their final drive for a field goal. So it's been a while since we've been on the field. They had a long drive right there to start the third quarter, and now obviously Jayden is just doing Jayden things. And what is this play? Well, once again, you should sign up for the PHL Patreon. It's the same action, right? And right here, Jayden decides to not throw it because obviously Dallas Turner's running out with it. And this is actually covered pretty well. But the good thing about that misdirection is you're just getting the defense going right to left, right to left, right to left. And Jayden, who is like a slalom skier as a runner, is just so tough to bring down. I mean, that's 2 broken tackles right there. And it all started with that action, right? All right, 3rd and 2, sometimes the best play as an offensive lineman is just letting a guy go. Don't commit a holding penalty on this 3rd and 2. And the play was actually made right here by Charles Turner. We're running a simple inside zone play to the inside right here on this 3rd and 2. And as you see, Byron Young gets great penetration. We kind of whiff him. But Turner knows we're going through this play side A gap. So don't hold him. You see, he kind of falls on his own. This is just excellent, excellent football right here. Turner sees it, this 94. Dale runs right into Will Campbell. So he moves to the 2nd level. And we're just squeezing through there. Okay, good job right there. We're able to break that tackle. And kind of a weird stunt right there by Alabama on a 3rd and 2. And a good finish right there by Josh. Honestly, one of the plays of the game right here. As great as Mason Taylor was, you guys know, just watching our film studies, I don't know why they keep running this play. This tight end wheel up the sideline, it's never there. Okay, it's never there, and it wasn't. I do have the all 22 from a video I shot. It wasn't there. So Jayden sees, okay, I have time, and just look at this across the way. All right, they're actually getting exotic. So they're twisting this guy over this way, and it's layered. It's really difficult to pick up. Okay, and look at what we're doing. Look at the protection. Okay, so excellent stuff right there by Jayden, and Kayshawn does open up over the middle. I hated the route concepts there, but that was just our guys going out there making plays. See right here, start the play. Kayshawn is actually the flat defender, or the flat receiver, okay? And versus Eli Ricks, he doesn't give up, okay? And he finds a window. He gets open. Great job by Jayden. One of his better throws on the day. Gets him on his upfield shoulder, and it's a first. That's all Josh Williams. I mean, look at this. This is unreal, okay? This play is dead to rights. This is their best linebacker just running straight through here. Bang. He just kind of makes him miss. And look at when he reaches down for the goal line right here. You always want to be careful. I don't like it when a running back reaches out like that. But notice how he decides to dive with his back like this. This allows him, see, he actually jumps his legs up in the ground, or he jumps his legs up in the air to make sure his butt or any part of his leg is landing before he can actually reach the ball over the goal line. That's just excellent running back play. Let's go. Look at the diesel. It's an unbelievable night in Tiger Stadium. Getting this touchdown at the end of the 3rd quarter. And before we actually break this 4th quarter down, I want to say thank you to all the support. I got stopped a lot. I did not expect that. I didn't know that the channel grew to what it is now. And there were 3 people in our own section. Shout out to Phil. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to, God, what was his name? Colin. Man, unreal stuff. And if you are a member of the PHL Patreon, you know I shared some concerns about Greg Penn going into this game, going up against Jahmyr Gibbs. And I actually cut another contained mistake a little bit earlier in the game, I believe, out of this film study. So this was tough, and I do think you will start to see Demario Tolan, number 32, start to get more reps alongside Basker. You take a look at this right here. You get this motion, and because of this motion defender, you have the safety that has to account for it. Obviously, you got the corner out here. Your contained defender, who is supposed to keep eyes on the quarterback, is Harold Perkins. Perkins sees that the ball is handed off, and the player who is responsible for the tight end is Micah Baskerville, okay? But you'll see here we're running a stunt to the right, and Ollie Gay does have a tendency in the run game to get washed out of the play. And we were running a stunt to the right, so that's a really tough, it's a really tough play to fulcrum down and sit right here. But we did get washed out a little too easy, okay? So now they isolate their best offensive non-quarterback player against. So Greg Penn had some really good plays, had a great tackle on Jason McClellan to prevent a touchdown early. We need Greg Penn to make this tackle, okay? And honestly, this is what the design of the play is. We are going to leave everybody unblocked, and your job right here is to make this play, okay? And we have 2 linebackers here to make this play, and, well, we cut off Baskerville here to potentially make the tackle. So we just need Penn. If you're not going to make this tackle right here, at least slow him down. And Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of like Kamara in how easy he breaks tackles. And this was massive coming out of the timeout because we really had them on their heels in pass pro in particular. And honestly, Alabama had been struggling to run the football. I mean, this play right here almost equaled their entire rushing yard total last week versus Mississippi State. So moving forward, especially coming up this next week versus Arkansas, was really good at washing defenders out of plays. We've got to fulcrum down in the running game. So we get to this next play here. What was that? Oh, that was weird. Did y'all see this? I guess I'm just hallucinating. I thought something like just flashed on the screen. I'm hallucinating. Like, no! What is this? Could it just be this edit? Oh my God. I kid you not. The door just opened on its own. I swear we're in a simulation. This is not a real world. So now we get to me, Jayden's best throw of the night. You can argue the Mason Taylor touchdown, but goodness gracious. I know this pocket is clean, and we are max protecting. Good pickup right there by Josh again. Okay, look at this. But we need Jayden to start making these throws. They are difficult throws. You're going up against... Once again, I forgot who this corner's name is. But this ball has to be delivered on a rope. And Jayden, on these sideline throws, has been sailing his receivers. And once again, the ball will flutter out of his hands. Okay? Who cares? All right? That makes this catch by Malik Neighbors that much more difficult. Look at how well he high points a wobbly football that is still coming in pretty hot and then get a foot down in bounds. Good decisive throw right there by Jayden. Even better catch and route versus once again, I don't remember his name. It's something. So here we go. It's the same thing. Okay, this time though, we are not slipping Mason Taylor across. We're just running this little flat route right here. Pull it, okay? Good job by Will. Excellent. We get a good double right here on Dale. And what's interesting here is the edge defenders for Alabama are such a big piece for what they do. This is actually one of their backups here, Chris Braswell, who's also a 5-star. And he's actually running with Mason Taylor here. This inside linebacker is drawn by John Emery. Good second-level block right here by Charles Turner on Henry To'oTo'o. And all we got to do is beat DJ Dale to the sideline. Good stuff right here to get the double. And look at that. Look at all the space. It's that flat action. You've got to widen Alabama out. And good job right here. Should that have been called? I don't know. We're still cooking with grease. 3rd and 2 right here. I get the play call here. I really, really, really do. Not in love with it simply because if you take Kayshawn out of the game and you go into 12, throw out of this because they are expecting a run when Cole Taylor comes into the game. okay? And they're just all over this run to the left, okay? I think Mike thought that this jet sweep motion would hold more players, just didn't, and there's just nowhere to go. It looks like poor blocking. Just give Alabama a lot of credit for coming up here and making this play, and give a lot of credit to Damian Ramos, kicking a really good field goal after this. I want to show some love to one of Power Hour LSU's favorite LSU players of all time, Slade Roy, and really good protection here on this extra point. Really good kick, okay? Good high right down the middle. And Ramos's kicks were, look, he put that right in basically the hands right there, right down the middle. All right, so obviously Bryce Young's here on the 2-minute drive. Honestly, it's going to sound a little dramatic. That's okay. But right now, you're just in survival mode. Bryce Young is one of the best 2-minute quarterbacks we've ever seen in the sport. And to lead not one, but two, but honestly, 3 clutch scoring drives when there's just nothing going offensively, these look like just super duper easy throws. But when Alabama goes hurry up and this guy, honestly, is just playing, he's really, really difficult to stop. Now, we get to, obviously, the one thing, I probably have 20 messages because, I've done so much Harold Perkins content, and I know this just from my SEC channel. When you do content on blown calls, it outranks everything. I'm talking about recruiting. I'm talking about just every last little thing. People love to be victims. They really do. They love to be wronged. And the truth here is we honestly, objectively, were wronged on this play. Our best player, Harold Perkins, made the play of the game right here. He is one-on-one against a future NFL left tackle, Tyler Steen, the number 1 transfer offensive lineman. He pushes him back and collapses his pocket, and he is right here to make the game-winning sack, and they blow this holding call. That's got to be called. It's pretty blatant, too. You could see the underneath shoulder pad. They do give offensive linemen a lot of leniency when the hands are still to the inside instead of like the outside, but that's just got to be called. There's just no other way around it. And I will give the referees this. They swallowed the whistle from this point forward. They called hardly anything the remainder of the game. So they did let it play. Obviously, we got screwed on the fumble call earlier. I think that should have been LSU's ball. It did look like Greg Penn had possession of it before Latu touched it out of bounds on that one still shot. Maybe he was out of bounds. I don't know. But there's still a lot that we can learn from this play. So, yeah, it's very loud in this building. But honestly, when you're in coverage for this long, it's hard to stay with your man. And it is 3rd and 11. So we decide to double their best receiver, Ja'Cory Brooks. And honestly, everything's just covered, okay? Give Sage Ryan a lot of credit. It's a good job right there. And everything's just, there's just nothing open, and we're getting pressure, right off the jump here. The issue, though, is obviously you've seen what happened with the pass rush, okay? When Bryce Young broke, okay, we left Ja'Cory Brooks alone. And, right there, you just want to stay with your man. But it's tough. When he's scrambling, you want to go up and make a tackle. Still, you want to stay with your man at all times. And honestly, it's just a special player making a special play. All right, so now we get to the very curious 2-point conversion decision by Nick Saban. And I get back to what I said about Brian Kelly to start last night's live stream. This was a really bad decision right here by Nick. I know he said that his chart says here he should go for 2. Good job by Jacoby and Guillory helping to collapse that pocket. And honestly, it was just Mekhi Gardner making that play against their best receiver. Once again, we were just all over their receivers all night. It took scramble drills from Bryce Young to get open outside of a few other times. If you're Nick right there, I would just kick the extra point for this reason. I understand going for 2 when you're only up by 1. That was the right decision. But you go for 1 there because your red zone offense from the 2-yard line had been stinking, right? You had, at the very least, been running the football well some. And as you can see, I mean, there's no breakdown here. It's just Jayden making a play, which, once again, it's a slalom skier. Look at this angle. He is near horizontal to the field. And then he's just not even slowed down by Helms. This is just really, really, really special play by Jayden. And give Jordan Battle a lot of credit. He has made some amazing touchdown and just big play-saving tackles versus LSU over the years. But, Saban's decision right there, it really is perplexing because if I know that my team is struggling to get 2-point conversions and we're struggling in the red zone offense, and it's one of those situations where I don't need the 2-point conversion, I just go ahead and kick the 1. But, to each their own. Now we get here to, once again, Jayden, that amazing run. They decide to rush 3, drop 8. Do so at your own peril, okay? Jayden decides to rip this football, and, this honestly was a really good throw. And the funny thing about it, and this is just who Jayden Daniels is as a player, okay? He's honestly a really intangible quarterback, right? There's just some things that he does that is very unique to him. And one of those things is getting better as the game moves forward, okay? Rarely do you see a spiral this tightly thrown from him. I see so many wobblers, leave his hand. Look at where this ball is placed. I don't know how many times this year he's thrown the football just out of bounds or just inaccurately, but when we really need it in the fourth quarter, he puts it where only Kayshawn could catch it, and you get the pass interference call. It's just truly, truly, truly amazing stuff right there by JD5. Boom, I'm looking at you. Come on, we're powering through this film study together, and I want to break down, to me, my favorite play of the game, because there really isn't a breakdown here on the design, but just the will of a walk-on running back who's now on scholarship to break the tackle of an unblocked Alabama player, and not only do that, on his own, carry some very experienced Alabama defenders.
It was 3rd down, and I was like, we got to get the 1st down. It was a situation where we had to score to advance the game. So my mind, you're going to have to kill me to get me down.
So here we go, right? That's Josh Williams. So first off, let's talk about the improbability of Josh Williams actually being LSU's number 1 running back, right? There are 3 other running backs on this roster that are not just elite recruits. They are top 100 recruits. And honestly, they had good games versus Alabama. Most notably, obviously, John Emery, but Armani Goodwin had a good run in this game. But Josh Williams is still the guy in crunch time, right? And this guy, Chris Fowler, brought it up in the live stream. He actually has a national championship ring. He was a scout team member of the 2019 LSU national championship team, and he's the one that actually makes this play. Okay, so we actually get a little unlucky here. I love this play design, but they actually call a perfectly timed twist stunt. Now, this is not a run blitz or anything like that. This is a design pass stunt to get 42 around unblocked to sack Jayden Daniels to make it 4th and long. Okay? So 42 has the opportunity to make this play versus Josh Williams, and bang, he can't do it. We get a little lucky that Will Anderson, who was pretty much shut out outside of that play from earlier, honestly, this was Will Anderson's fault. He is getting blown back so bad here by Anthony Bradford. I think Will Anderson was shocked that LSU decided to run the football. Look at this push we are getting over here. In freaking insane. And because we blew them so far back, the right guard here, Bradford, actually tripped up 42 a little bit on this play as well, but still Josh Williams had to do the get off me move right here. And honestly, look at all the LSU players. They are stunned that tackle is broken, right? That is, I mean, this is as flush of a broken tackle you'll ever see. That is just gross to do that while giving up, 20 or so pounds in that spot? Unfreaking believable. One of the best runs I've ever seen, especially in that moment. Now, we get to just as special of a component of this play, and look at Josh Williams still carrying people. It's the play call.
I mean, yeah, that's another play we ran a bunch in practice this week because what they do in the red zone, but I'm just glad Jayden trusted me with the ball, and he did it in practice, so why not throw it up in the game? And he put a perfect ball in the corner and just got him go up and make a play.
Now we get to the throw right here. Well, the first throw. I mean, this is just very simple stuff right here by Jayden, okay? If they are in this coverage right here, more than likely it's going to be man. You have this guy, you have this guy, you have this guy. So you know the back corner of the end zone, if you throw it back there, it's going to be a relatively safe throw, and Jayden knows this, okay? They bring pressure. We pick it up well. Good stuff by this offensive line again. Look at how well we pick up this twist stunt, and Jayden's just got to make this throw. And honestly, the protection wasn't that great here. They do get the twist stunt around, and Jayden actually had to get this throw off, and this is a very experienced player, Byron Young, and Jayden's got to get this off with his hands right in his face, okay? And did that ball get tipped? The tipped Zapruder film. No, it didn't. Okay? So Jayden, yes, it's a wobbler. Who cares? Look at where this ball's placed. High and away, Jordan Battle, JaQuincy Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Mason Taylor, God bless, catches it at its highest point, falls down, protects the football, and we take the freaking lead. Alrighty, so now we got to stop Bryce Young here. All they need is a field goal. So we need to play to win the game right here. I think that's too easy, okay? I think this is going to die down in the SEC. 3 safety looks. The Arkansas 3 safety look defense got figured out. Ole Miss's 3 safety look defense is getting exposed now. And actually, we're not going to break it down here. Bama decided to go 3 safety, and actually Jayden missed a potential touchdown to Kayshawn on it. I just think it just leaves things way too soft underneath, and you still can get beat over the top with it. And that right there was a little too easy pitch and catch. All right, so Bryce completed a ball to the guy who's scared of pie-fies. So we skipped that play here, and God, this is just excellent. I want you to see when this ball is actually delivered, okay? This is just great stuff. He sees that the safety is this far back, okay? So he knows that the safety won't get over to the sideline right here. So Bryce, look at when he's throwing the ball. JoJo Earl is nowhere close. I mean, nowhere close to getting out of his release. And he looks, and this is when he's turning his head. Look at how far the ball has already traveled. That's just really, I mean, you can't play the quarterback position any better than that. That's a really tough play to defend, especially with the safety that far back. And they're in field goal range. Alrighty, so Jarek Bernard Converse has to be the defensive MVP. I mean, this honestly, though, was a drop. I didn't like that Harold Perkins wasn't on the field. He might have been, banged up here. But on this 3rd and 10, we want our best rusher in. But either way, they did max protect, so it would have been tough for anybody to get home in this spot. And once again, look at where Bryce Young actually puts this ball. I mean, that hit him right in the chest. But it's still great coverage by Converse to make it very difficult. He does a good job locating the ball and dislodging it as well. But, I've got to say this. This is the worst Alabama receiving crew ever under Saban. I don't know exactly why. And Brooks is actually their best receiver. But I really do mean this. I think LSU probably has at least 3 wide receivers that would be the clear-cut number 1 option on Alabama's team, and I love that celebration. Put the sword in the holster. So there's going to be a debate why Brian Kelly didn't use a timeout here to ice the kicker. Smart freaking decision to not do it for this reason. For this reason. So Alabama had 2 timeouts left, and they elected to not use one. I kind of like that BK didn't use one. As you can see, the ball did barely go over. But the kicker had to beat the play clock. So I like the fact that the kicker was felt a little bit rushed in that spot. That obviously wasn't Reichert's prettiest kick, but it did go through. And I'm also perfectly fine with Brian Kelly deciding to take a knee and going into overtime. I understand you have 2 timeouts left. I totally get it. But 21 seconds left. Our kicker doesn't necessarily have a big leg. So let's get into overtime and see if we can win the football game there. So we make the right decision to defer. We won the toss, so we get the football, to start. We get the football second, okay? Honestly, when they really needed it, they had some great pass protection here, and Bryce is cooking, okay? So Ojulari should have made this play right here. He had an amazing game. It's kind of hard to, fault him for not being able to actually bring Bryce down right there. But you could just see our guys are worn out, right? And good hustle by Perk, to chase him from behind. But our guys are tired. And this, kind of will add into what we're about to talk about here on the 2-point conversion try. So we get to the 3rd and 4. Did the ball get tipped play? And let's be honest, it did get tipped, okay? And the man who actually did the tipping shared his thoughts.
I definitely did. I think the whole stadium seen that when they put it on the Jumbotron. But it's okay, though, I'm not a ref.
I mean, look at this. I mean, it looks like some flickage to me. God, it's just crazy. So once again, if the ball was, and the ball still spiraled after that, but the thing is, if the ball does get tipped, there is no pass interference, unless it happens right when the ball is being released, basically. So they didn't overturn it, so got to move on and overcome the adversity. So obviously they get it, and they're able to finally pound it in, and Alabama finds a way to score. Okay.
It was a read option. It's funny. I was actually on the sideline, and I was talking to Dean, our quarterback assistant, and he was telling me about the play. I was like, well, if they call that play, I'm going to end the game. Hopefully, they had kicked the field goal by then. That was before they scored, but I was like, I'm going to end the game. The end crash, I pulled it. Mason Taylor and Josh Williams had great blocks. It was just me and the safety from there.
So the play design right here is just nasty on the play that Jayden Daniels just broke down for you via Tiger TV. Actually, that was my first ever job in the media business. So, we'll break down the end zone angle of this play. It is truly, truly, truly spectacular. Okay? Did Mason Taylor get away with the little block in the back right there? Yeah, he did. But once again, kind of like with the Harold Perkins holding call, they obviously let them play. So let's break this down together. Let's go. Look at this. Let's go. LMQB1. So obviously the design here is just so freaking good, right? You get a jet sweep motion going to the left here with Jack Besh, okay? Safety runs along with them. We're getting a flow to the left, okay? And they actually are bringing pressure, okay? As you can see, number 10, Henry To'oto'o, is rushing here, and they're getting some kind of twist stunt, all right? And that obviously helps out, okay? These two safeties are running with the jet sweep motion and the play action, or the zone read fake right here. So this action drew this safety, this action drew this safety, and we had a blitzer right here at the linebacker position. So right here, I think Jayden is pulling it the whole way. You heard him in the actual question and answer right there. if he hands his football off, Josh Williams is actually running for a nice gain here to the left. But Jayden is pulling this the whole way, right? He wants to make this play. And it honestly was a good decision, as many of you could see. This is nasty right here by Emory Jones as well. So when you see these twist stunts, you just want to crunch it all together. And that's exactly what Emory Jones does. Look at him seal this to the inside, and these two DTs are completely out of the play. Looks like they're trying to fight over to try and help off on this handoff to the left. So they're washed out. So you notice at this angle right here, all of Alabama's players are to the left of the hash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. So now we have 1, 2, and 3 players to beat. Now, this is the most interesting play right here. And it is very unusual to see this from a running back. And this is honestly coached up here. The play action fake, normally a bunch of running backs in the spot carry the fake out to the left to help sell the fake to the left. But instead of doing that, Josh Williams decides to go upfield. Good job chalk outlining this chunk of Alabama players. And now Josh is looking to go downfield and make a play. And right here, I do not remember an LSU play that was ever blocked downfield better than this from these 3 skill position players. Yes, we got away with the little block in the back. They got away with the holding, right? It all evens itself out, right? So you beat this guy to the outside. Dallas Turner, a really good athlete. Jayden is really good at this. Notice he starts high-stepping right here to make sure he doesn't get his heels clicked off, because Jayden knows all he has to do is beat this guy and it's pay dirt, all right? But Jayden said in that answer, he said, all I got to do is beat the safety here. Well, you don't even have to do that. Josh fights all the way downfield, and this is actually just such an incredible block. Give a lot of credit here as well. At the end of the game, some good blocking by BTJ right there. And it looks like BTJ. And now we are running into the end zone right here. What a freaking play.
I'd say every week. It's a 2-point play, and Coach Kelly didn't have it down in his mind and not go 2-point after that. So it was a good overall play overall.
They got 12!
Right there.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, Kevin! Let's go, Kevin! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
So the play that it's being compared to the most is obviously the Hunter Renfrow out route. It's kind of the same concept. You know, it's man coverage, and your job is essentially, it's kind of like a pick and roll in basketball, right? Your job is just to create traffic as the outside receiver and just get this guy in the flat really quickly. It was on the left hash. It was a rollout to the right, but this was a little bit different because obviously it was a tight end catching the football, and it was Mason Taylor. There was 2 receivers to the right side with Mason running to the right. But Brian Kelly did reveal something in the post-game press conference. So we go back to Notre Dame in 2014. This was some good stuff from Richard Johnson and Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated uncovering this. This is the 2014 play. Brian Kelly confirmed that this is indeed the same play. It is a little bit different in that, the tight end is, running back and forth and then sprinting out to the right to get a running start. So that DB, you'll see in just a second, is trailing. And they actually called this offensive pass interference, which it probably should have been. You see these players are essentially blocking right here, and obviously 26 can't get over the top, but it's that same concept. It's a lot of traffic and man coverage to get over the top to get this guy in the flat. It's a very easy throw and catch, and it is a tutty. So let's break it down. So I'm going to be honest with you. This wasn't the absolute best look for this play. You do see that it is man coverage and it's tight across the way. But Jordan Battle, normally with this play, you want the guy to be running back and forth. He is sitting right here waiting for him, and he sees it all the way, okay? The good thing, though, is Elias Ricks bailing right here actually ended up helping us big time, okay? He did give Jayden Jenkins a lot of ground here, and that forced 9. Jordan Battle actually sees this pretty quickly, okay? You see it, and all he's got to do is find a way to get through there. Now, we pick it up here because it does get cut off. This is really weird, okay? Normally, right here, there's no room to go through, but because Elias Ricks, and I do find it so poetic that Elias Ricks, it was where he was standing, where the football was delivered for the game-winning touchdown, essentially. But because he was playing off of Jayden, it did allow Jordan Battle to cut between them, okay? Now, this was a really smart decision by Jayden Jenkins right here, because your natural reaction is to hit Jordan Battle here. That would have been offensive pass interference, and that would have set up for a very nervy extra point to continue the game, okay? He let him go, okay? And it takes a really good throw right here by Jayden. It's right on the money. Mason catches it. It's not the easiest catch here, okay? The game is on the line. You're 18, however old he is. Very, very young, okay? It's not as easy as it looks to fall forward like that, and he scores a tutty.
Well, look, you're going to get second-guessed if you don't get it. I get it. But, it was a decision at that moment. I just felt, as I thought about it, if we could boil this game down to one play and win this game, before the game started, if you asked me, hey, I'm going to give you one play, and if you're successful on that one play, you beat Alabama, I would have taken that 100 times out of 100. And so at that moment, it kind of hit me that way, and I knew we had a really good play that we hadn't used and they hadn't seen. And when you get 5 out on the perimeter, you truly have a threat. And so I felt really good about the play, and it was well executed.
Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you right now. So if it is in your heart's desire, before I give you the harsh truth about Brian Kelly's really controversial decision to go for 2 in this spot, because I'm sure if he didn't get it, there'd be a lot of people very angry about it. I'm going to give you what I believe the data tells me and what I believe logic tells me as far as the decision. But before I do that, once again, feel free to drop a donation. And I do want to share that I'm trying to get my Twitter account up to 1,000 followers. I'm horrible on Twitter. But I feel like this young man right here, is he just Back to the Future? Maybe he saw things that we couldn't see. So, yeah, I had a tweet go mini viral. I'm horrible on Twitter. So please go there, Instagram at Power Hour LSU, all that good stuff. But yes, if you can, feel free to, share a donation. And of course, you can always join our PHL Patreon. There you go. Now, obviously pandemonium is happening, and these fans rush the field, and I don't even know if I'm going to give you the final stats here. Normally we have like the final stats on the screen and doing one big, put a bow on it, kind of break down here at the end of the video. But I want to talk about this, right? The decision to go for 2. And I feel like this decision will tell a lot about who you are as a person, right? Because you hear coaches talk about this all the time. We're a process over results. It's all about the process, one play at a time, one game at a time. This is a rare example of the one play at a time objectively deciding all of this, right? Deciding potentially the SEC West, deciding Alabama's fate, deciding so many different things. One play to a 3-star true freshman tight end. What if he drops it? What if this happens? What if we don't get it? You can't think that way. And this is the harsh truth about the 2-point conversion. Not only was it the correct decision, it was the correct decision even if it didn't work. Now, why is that a harsh truth? Because a lot of fans would have changed their tune if this 2-point conversion did not work, okay? And you can't deal with that. Football is a wacky game with a lot of wacky things. Balls bounce weird ways. It's an oblong-shaped object to begin with. And you have all this hostility in, a stadium full of 100,000 people, and you can't let the outcome of this one play determine if you're happy or dishappy with Brian Kelly's decision to go for 2. So that's a harsh truth, because if it didn't work, as Brian Kelly, said just now, a lot of people would have been going for his neck. And guess what? The decision to go for 2 isn't just the right decision because it didn't work earlier this year versus Florida State. It's the right decision because it is the right decision. If you're telling me in a game versus a team that is a 2-touchdown favorite, a team that is as strong as Alabama, a team that has Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Bryce Young, who had led Alabama on 3 consecutive scoring drives, including that last one in overtime, you've got to decide the football game then and there, because on that play, you are deciding the game without Alabama's best player getting the football back in his hands. So, there are so many right things that Brian Kelly did in this spot. It is very, very, very difficult to make this call, a one-play, do-or-die, roll out to the right. It's hard. It's very, very, very hard. And I know he gets paid $10 million a year to make the correct decisions in that spot. And yes, we would have loved to go for 2 in the Florida State game. I do find it is a little poetic that it was Mason Taylor who earlier this year, a lot of people fault him for, the Florida State field goal, mishaps there. I don't fault him really at all. I think that was just, obviously, we won't talk about that play at all. But, the simple truth is this. LSU was by far the team that deserved this result. They were better in pretty much every aspect. And I know the final stat line shows that it was actually relatively even. But I really do, and I felt this way about Alabama going into the game. I feel as if this team is just Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs and some solid but not spectacular defensive performance mixed in there as well. I have got to give Bryce Young a lot of credit for gritting out, a performance like this, but he was flustered, and Alabama was not coached well in this game. So, first off, give Brian Kelly a lot of credit for making the right 2-point conversion decision, but at the same time, the reason why it is still impressive with what he did in this game is that throughout the course of the game, LSU was the better coaching staff, right? And I really do feel that way. And I'm not just saying that, yes, you had a home field advantage. Yes, you had some players back healthy. But I do feel LSU was the better team. And what's really interesting about this is you go look at a lot of teams that have beaten Alabama over the years, they were just dominant in the explosive play battles, and LSU did hit some explosive plays, and I kept, hammering that home that you have to hit explosive plays to beat Alabama. But the truth is, LSU didn't just have one massive chunk play here or there, right? They methodically just outplayed Alabama. This was not a fluky result by any stretch of the imagination. And what's really impressive about that, we shared Peter Burns, a guy that mentored me in college and I was at the SEC Network. He shared that that stat that a lot of you know, the 39 scholarship players, and now they are where they are. The funny thing about it is a lot of these guys are 3 stars, former walk-ons, some later transfers that were also 3-star recruits. It's crazy because Alabama's got the obviously LSU has some 4 and 5 stars, but Alabama has more of them. And you go roster by roster or position by position, if you will. Brian Kelly really outcoached Nick Saban really badly in this game. His coordinators were better. The assistants were better. LSU's special teams are really good in this game. So the reason why I included all that stuff about the 2-point conversion is in order to beat Alabama, you can do all those things and still lose. That's why it's so difficult to actually beat Alabama. But you got to finish. You got to play hard till the final whistle. And, a lot of those intangible things that we mentioned a little bit earlier all played into this game ending the way that it did. Yes, you would have liked to have brought Bryce Young down after the whirling Derbyshire sack. Yes, Mekhi Wingo's finger tipped the ball. Yes, we should have had the fumble at the end of the first half. But you take away the really bad calls that I do feel slightly favored Alabama. You had the Mason Taylor quote-unquote block in the back in overtime. I see that not called all the time. But still, Alabama had, a lot of the calls go their way. And they had the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback on their sideline, and LSU still outplayed them. And I know I'm saying this as someone that actually went to the game, but man, I've got to say this. This was truly spectacular. Now, I'm going to share this as someone who was in the stadium. It was so good to actually be a fan and, come do the live stream from here, set up all this stuff here. And man, it was truly a night to remember. And I want to say thanks to, once again, FACP and so many different, viewers that I was able to meet. I'm very blessed to get to do this, and I cannot thank you enough. Now, we get into what do we make of this? Obviously, LSU is still in the running for the SEC West. There's a lot that needs to go their way. I would not count out Ole Miss beating Alabama this next weekend. I obviously love the Lane Train. They're going to be coming off a bye week. They're going to be at home. This will be the second game of a road back-to-back for Alabama, and they had a late night travel to get back, and we saw what that did to Mississippi State earlier this year versus us in this building. Man, that's going to be a tough spot. And ironically, as LSU fans, you want Alabama to win because that obviously gives you even more breathing room to get into the SEC championship game. But the simple truth is LSU is going to have to win out for them to have a chance to win this whole shebang. It is still very much in the balance. So, I do think, obviously, LSU's got a real good shot at this to obviously win out and potentially play Georgia for the SEC championship game. So, once again, this is truly incredible, and I do think if Brian Kelly does win the SEC, he actually deserves the Coach of the Year award over Josh Heupel. And I understand Brian Kelly's my coach, and he's my favorite coach, but you guys know how much I love Tennessee, and my SEC East Tennessee prediction for the year is now dead. Boo-hoo. I haven't lost any sleep over, to be honest, because, I won't get into what the Vols fans have done and said to me on my SEC channel. So, all of that aside, give Brian Kelly a lot of credit for, getting what needed to get done. Now, it's interesting. I'm going to be interested to see what this line versus Arkansas does. I just got a text. I'm cutting this not wanting to look at the sports line just yet, but I did get a text that Arkansas is slightly favored versus LSU, which is, kind of crazy. But, Arkansas does run the football well, and we'll talk more about the Hogs, obviously, as this week moves along. And, we hear Brian Kelly at multiple press conferences. We shall see what happens with that. So yeah. Now, what's really interesting here as far as what this team can do, what are some things that I liked, what are some things that I disliked? As you guys saw, there was a lot of plays of the LSU defense. I wanted to spend, normally these film studies can get a little too offensive based. I was very lucky to get to sit higher up, and the funny thing, I was in the lower bowl, like 60 rows up. That is the perfect place to watch a game. But I was able to shoot a bunch of all 22 footage, and there were some misses. There were some things about the Denbrock's play calling that I just wasn't in love with. But the simple truth is the game plan was excellent, and Jayden Daniels is, well, I mean, if we do win out, he's going to have a good shot of going to New York City for a potential it's going to be tough for him to win it because of some games earlier in the year, but he's got a long shot to actually get to New York City and be a part of the Heisman Trophy ceremonies. Now, this was another picturesque, typical Jayden Daniels performance where he just gets better as the game moves on, and we obviously shared all those different things, but obviously, LSU offensively was really good. The offensive line, you go to Patreon, you could get our full game grades from the game. Offensive line actually was our offensive MVP. They were phenomenal against a group that everyone had pretty much dominating an Alabama defensive line that a lot of people thought was going to dominate LSU up front. So, good stuff there. Now, obviously I'm just spitballing and just putting this at the end. A few more things, because obviously I do cut a lot out and try and squeeze as much in. What's cool seeing a bunch of national media in town. I always think that's great. So yeah, I think that's about it. Now, obviously, Jayden's going to get a lot of the glory, as will Mason Taylor, because they were a part of the iconic plays. But God, I mean, there were so many individual defensive performances, and Matt House is getting a lot of credit as well. And he did a lot of really special things. But I am telling you, there's a ton of dogs on this defense that just get out there and make freaking tackle football plays. Obviously, Perk. Obviously, Baskerville. But Bernard Converse was, the star of the night for me. But, man, Mekhi Wingo and Jaquelin Roy, B.J. Ojolari, playing the snap share that they played is just, honestly, just absurd. It's crazy how many snaps that they played. It doesn't make any sense that they were that good for the full game, but they really were from start to finish excellent. They deserve a lot of praise. The wide receivers deserve a lot of praise. They did a lot of good blocking and obviously, drew some good pass interference penalties as well. Those don't show up in the stat sheet. So, yeah, my goodness gracious, it is truly incredible that we won this game. And for me personally, it was just so cool actually being there. Everybody that was there, it was so freaking surreal. I just can't freaking believe it. So obviously, comment down below your thoughts on today's film study, and let's roast some piggies next week. Let's go. Power hour LSU. Bah. Where are we going out tonight, BR? I'm here. Obviously, some of you are watching this on a premiere. And what am I gonna go do? I'm kind of tired. I slept like 2 full hours. I don't know. So what are we going to get tonight? Kind of want to go get some wings. Let's go.